Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick once said there was more wood to chop when talking about monetizing his games. So apparently paying full price for a game and then having to pay extra money to unlock more content using microtransactions isn't enough for Strauss. And now the 61-year-old millionaire businessman has apparently been busy with that axe of his, and players are not happy. Speaking back on May the 31st, 2017, Strauss Lumberjack Zelnick, CEO of Take-Two Interactive, parent company of 2K Games, said, quote, "We are convinced that we are probably, from an industry view, under-monetizing on a per-user basis. There is wood to chop because I think we can do more. We're not going to grab the last nickel." Now, he was talking about being fair to his customers, promoting the idea of giving them good value for their money and making himself out to be an ethical guy. But he is the CEO of a major corporation in the games industry, so as is usual for these types of people, he was talking absolute bollocks. He doesn't actually care about being fair to the customers. All he's really interested in is how much money he can make from people without crossing the line and pissing them off. And apparently Mr. Zell, nickel and dime may have just gone and crossed that line this time. Loading screen ads have been in the game NBA 2K for a good while now. Players weren't happy about it, but it didn't cause the company a huge headache, so 2K got away with it. But recently, players of NBA 2K have taken to Reddit in their droves to complain about unskippable ads popping up in the game, and now everybody's talking about it. One user, Skipper3210, commented, "Yeah, my game got to 100%, and instead of letting me edit matchups, which you can normally do while the game loads, or letting me go straight to the game, I had to sit there and finish the ad. Absolutely pathetic," from 2K again. This was just one comment among hundreds on a thread posted to the NBA 2K subreddit recently, which has so far gained over 13,000 upvotes. As you can see, the community is incensed, and who can blame them? The game already costs $60 and already locks additional content behind the paywall of microtransactions. It's a game franchise which has expected players to buy the newest installment every single year for the past 19 years. The game is a yearly cash cow for the company, and now they're selling advertising space for some extra revenue and forcing the players to sit through and watch them entirely before they can play the game. Back over to Strauss in 2017. "We're not trying to optimize the monetization of everything we do to the nth degree." At the risk of stating the obvious, he was obviously talking out of his Strauss. If you say it like an Australian, that works. Out of his Strauss, mate. He's talking out of his Strauss.
I'm not even sure it does then, to be honest.
Unskippable ads in a premium-priced, microtransaction-filled game is maybe the worst example of over-monetizing a game in the history of games. The only way to monetize a game more would be to lock player characters inside randomized premium currency loot boxes, so you'd have to gamble in perpetuity in order to access them. Oh no, wait a minute, they already did that as well, didn't they? Of course they did. Fuck me. This is just another example of the gaming industry exploiting its players and pushing the envelope to see just how much greed they can get away with. Another example of a CEO in the industry saying one thing and doing another, making themselves out as being ethical only for their actions to expose their true nature. But hopefully this can also be another time that players' backlash will force a greedy company to change. All you have to do is make our voices heard, make videos, write about it, tweet about it, and tell people about it. The more we share and yell about this, the less likely that other companies will follow suit, and this just becomes an accepted part of the industry, just like microtransactions and loot boxes did. Maybe then Mr. Talking Out of His Strauss, Zell Nickel and Dime You will put his chopper right back where it belongs. It's these types of things that are insidious, right? They start off with the most modest version of an utter greedy cash grab, and they just like turn up the temperature. It's like that allegory, right? When you're sticking the frog, everyone uses it on YouTube. You've probably watched a few videos about this, and a lot of people probably use this already. But when you put a frog in a pan of boiling water, it jumps out, right? But if you put it in cold water and then turn the heat up gradually, it'll just sit there thinking it's nice and toasty. Before you know it, he's boiled to a crisp. Can you boil things to a crisp? You probably can't.
Boil it
off afterwards.
Boil it to a mush.
Yeah, sous vide him for a bit and then just fry him off on the... Anyway.
Sous vide.
Cooking with gas.
The thing about the frog's totally right, because they start small and then it's the slippery slope argument. They start with, it's just, a little ad here that you can't skip, and then in a year's time it'll get worse, and in 2 years' time it's a whole lot worse, and then before long everyone's doing it because anti-consumer practices are trendy.
You gotta
make money.
You gotta get to a point where you put your foot down, and I think this is it. Like, this is the straw that broke the camel's back. That image works really well, because out the frying pan into the fire could work as well, because the only other basketball game that players have got realistically opportunity to play is NBA Live, which is EA game. So you're either better the devil you know than the devil. I mean, how many of these kind of sayings can be used for this? But it's absolutely horrible. I mean, the pushback happened with the loot boxes eventually with EA, and now the industry have cooled on loot boxes, not using them so much anymore. But if people weren't shouting about this, and the outlets weren't talking about it, about Reddit being upset about it, then they just get away with it. And then the next sports game would come along, it's like, oh, they got away with that. They made loads of money off that, selling advertising space. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's horrible. And this is the reason why we're making this video. I know you might have seen oh, you're late to the news again, pretty good game, and you're late, everyone's over. I don't give a shit. Like, this is part of our service to the industry, to the company, to the community, right? It's raising awareness. For those of you who haven't heard of this story before now, oh my god, this is a thing. This is what they're doing, and it shouldn't be done, and that's why we're talking about it.
It's classic free-to-play crap coming into full-price premium stuff. Like, if it was a free game with ads, I probably wouldn't care. And then you pay for the premium version to get the ad-free one, the clean one. But no, you've got to pay 60 quid, deal with ads, and pay all your nonsense for the loot boxes to unlock your characters, because character-based progression is all based on money. I
actually can't think of another way they could be making money off a game. Like, loot boxes, microtransactions, full priced, as well as selling advertising space in the game. It's bad enough when you go to the cinema and have to sit through like half an hour worth of pre-rolls. You've already bought your fucking ticket.
But now all that crap with 2K's done, let's go on to everyone's favourite part, and that's the daily news nuggets. There's a few too many syllables in there, but the daily news nuggets. Destiny developer Bungie is reportedly delaying bug fixes to Destiny 2 in favour of maintaining the work-life balance of its employees. Destiny 2 creative director Luke Smith said, "We're having the conversation about it. Is it worth doing that, or is it better to preserve the work-life balance and ship it later in July? To ask a team to do that back-to-back, full disclosure, it's not a thing we want to do. We try to be really careful about stuff like that." Wait, so making your employees' welfare a top priority? Looks like that split from Activision was an even greater blessing than we thought.
The trailer for Elden Ring was shown off at E3 this year and confirmed the rumours that George R.R. Martin is indeed working with From Software on a new game. Fortunately for those lovers of the Soulsborne series of games, Hidetaka Miyazaki has confirmed that Elden Ring will be very much in the same category. Miyazaki said, "The gameplay is not so far from Dark Souls. That doesn't mean that the gameplay will be identical, but you could say that Elden Ring belongs in the same genre."
Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled has cruised its way to #1 in the UK physical sales charts. It sold more than 4 times as many copies as its rival Team Sonic Racing. However, the kart racing spin-off could not beat the remake of the originals, with Crash's Insane trilogy still holding the top spot for the franchise.
In other Crash news, the Kart Racer remake has become the 3rd highest selling game of the year so far. This is behind Sony's commercial success, yet critically questionable Days Gone, and Capcom's widely acclaimed Resident Evil 2 remake. This remake has been pretty well received too, earning an 84 critic score on PS4 on Metacritic.
UK and Spanish games retailer Game has been bought out. Mike Ashley's Sports Direct has had its offer of £51.9 million for the game's retailer accepted. This will mean that the future of Game will be somewhat more stable in the short term, having recently been struggling to find a footing in the modern games industry.
Have you always wanted to experience the sensation of swinging from skyscraper to skyscraper like some kind of urbanite George of the Jungle? Well, you're in luck. In anticipation of the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Far From Home, launching in cinemas on the beginning of July, a new Spider-Man VR game is coming to PSVR very soon. If you're worried about missing out on the breathtaking sensation of VR vertigo, don't worry, it is expected to be launching on the Vive and Oculus Rift as well.
While on the topic of things that are breathtaking, it often seems like the internet can't go a day without creating some sort of nonsense petition. However, one has now been created to make Keanu Reeves' iconic line, "You're breathtaking," the 100% completion achievement for Cyberpunk 2077. At the time of writing, it's gained over 56,000 signatures in the week since it launched.
The latest augmented reality game from the minds behind Pokemon Go is Harry Potter Wizards Unite, which launched on Friday. Unfortunately for Niantic, the developer behind the game, the Harry Potter brand isn't proving to be quite as profitable as Pokemon, earning $1.7 million less than what Pokemon Go earned on day one. The game isn't doing too badly though, with about 400,000 installs installs in the US and UK on day one. They've still got a long way to go to get close to Pokemon Go, however, which has been installed over 7.5 million times just in the US. If you want to go check out the full details of anything that we've just mentioned, as well as any of the lead stories that we featured today, go and check them out, and the links to everything are in the description of this video.
Shall we have a little joke? It's just a short one today, but it did tickle me. So these jokes come in from our Bad Dad's Jokes channel on our Discord, which you can get access to if you become a Patreon over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming for as little as $1. What else are you going to spend it on?
$1?
$1.
Bargain.
So this comes in from Ylad. I really despise Russian dolls. They're so full of themselves. If you don't know, they're the ones with they like stack out.
If you explain it, it's not a joke.
But they're
anymore,
uneducated fools. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is the biggest film franchise around right now, so it only makes sense that Square Enix's Avengers-themed game is also quite the undertaking. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz, studio head at Crystal Dynamics, Scott Amos, said, "It's the biggest thing we've ever done. It's taking 5 studios to bring this game together, including Crystal Dynamics in Redwood Shores, California, the new studio Bellevue in Washington called Crystal Northwest, a team in Nix's in the Netherlands, Eidos Montreal, and some of Square Enix Japan." Amos went on to explain how they've hired experts to make the game as good as possible. "We cherry-picked the best of the best and said, let's put this together in a new way for something bigger than we've ever done. To help tell their story, they've hired Sean Escaig as the creative director and writer, who worked on Uncharted: The Lost Legacy as creative director and The Last of Us as an animation supervisor and cinematographer. David Fifield, who's worked on the online modes for the Halo and Call of Duty franchises, was also brought on to work on the multiplayer of the game as game director. Lastly, Amos mentioned Vince Napoli, the lead systems designer for God of War, was hired as a lead combat designer. He then proceeded to detail how their collaboration with Marvel has worked. They're not just collaborators, they're partners. They're embedded with us as a team. We bring them to the studio and we go through it together. We have this amazing collaboration with them that lets us do a little of the iconic fan service and a lot of doing an original take that makes it feel fresh and familiar. He stresses how the story is the focus of everything and how everything in the game links back to it. Why do you need Widow to look like that? Why do we need Cap's star on his shield to be a little bit bigger than it used to be? That actually has a story behind it that ties to the lore of the overall Avengers. The biggest barrier for this game at the moment seems to be the confusion about its multiplayer co-op sections and how they work, which Amos tried to explain a bit more clearly. When you find the different heroes, it unlocks different branches in the world. If you have Hulk, you can continue down the main campaign, or you can go off and do these other areas as Hulk and explore him and level him up. These branches are all enabled for co-op multiplayer. So from the sounds of it, you'll have a core linear narrative which is single player with set characters, but when you unlock new heroes, you'll get side missions and areas specific to them which can be played in co-op. Okay, I think I get it. One thing that is clear is that Marvel's Avengers is being built as a games as a service that will be supported post-launch. 99% of the stuff we're adding is playable single player, but it's also co-op enabled. Global threats are ever escalating, new levels, new heroes showing up at no additional cost. While it was mentioned at the initial reveal at E3 that all post-launch heroes and levels will be free, the game will have additional monetization with cosmetics. Amos says that we also have ways for you to earn a lot of those things, but that suggests that some of the cosmetics will only be available through microtransaction purchases. Square Enix definitely has some solid talent working on Marvel's Avengers, but 5 different groups working on the same project sure is a lot. The old saying about too many cooks in the kitchen seems to spring to mind.
There's a lot of cooking type analogies today, isn't there?
Yeah, cooking, pretty good cooking, gaming.
Good cooking, gaming, new channel coming up, watch the space.
I like that he's quite keen on saying story, everything's story. Your shield folds back into story, 99% story additional content. That sounds great, and you've got good people working on your story, but it depends what that actual story, the main story, if that's any good. Like, you can sell on how much it's about story, and I like hearing that, but I need to know what their actual main story is like before I even start thinking about this 99% extra add-on games as a service content.
Like a tacked on thing. They do it. Why? If it's a focus for you to do single player, why you got to tack on this game as a service nonsense with it? Because I don't know. It's just like, it's like with everything in it. It's like a plague. It's like everything's going to be a service. How much time has one gamer got? Like, all these games are services these days. Give me a single player game so I can play it and then move on. Don't expect me to play your game for like forever. Like, so all these games are doing.
Stuff to do.
I've got stuff to do.
I feel like the kind of game this should have been is Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, but we're already getting that from Nintendo, because that game lends itself, like, you go through the missions and you pick your team of 4 people and you can add different characters. They're doing a bunch of DLC with like extra X-Men and the Fantastic Four and stuff, but why is this like a games as a service? It doesn't really make sense. They're just not getting it right. They're just not saying quite how well it works. Like, reading that, trying to understand how the co-op stuff works.
It screams of...
It's weird.
It screams of bad marketing, really. It's like when you get your message mixed up about a game, like we saw it with Anthem, right? Is it a single player traditional RPG game like BioWare, or is it an online service looter shooter type game? Nobody really sure, and that was part of the reason why people were like a bit confused about what the game does. And it's the same thing with this. Like, is it a single player? Is it a multiplayer? What's it supposed to be? Nobody's really sure. Are people going to accept it? People are going to be confused with the idea of the game, so they're not going to flip in buy it. I'm not going to buy it because it's this game as a service. So
I'm feeling a lot of similarities with Anthem. Like, I feel like after it launches, if it isn't good and doesn't do well, we might learn that, oh yeah, we, just like Anthem, didn't really know what the idea was, and there was too much going on. But although Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics, they work together on the Tomb Raider games, and they're pretty good. And all of the studios are like closely linked. It's not like they're completely separate. They are kind of like sister studios and stuff. So they do know each other, and they might be able to pull it together.
We'll just have to wait and see how it turns out.
So that's it for your Tuesday news roundup. If you want to check out any of the stories we've mentioned today, check out below in the description. If you like what you see and you want to see more, maybe hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you stay notified whenever we put up a new video. Hit a like, it helps us out in that all-important YouTube algorithm. If you like the content we're creating and want to help us make it, go on over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You'll get access to the Discord, as I already said, as well as early access to our podcast. This is a lot of words coming out in one big flow. I don't know when I'm going to stop. I think I might stop now. I've been Henry, he's been Gaz. We'll see you later.
One take as well.
One mouth blowout take. The
amount of blablablas per video has come right down now. The ratio of blablablas per videos, it's
I
decreasing.
think I need to get my blablablas out at the beginning. Do full vocal warm-ups.
It's the best out of context thing ever.